All right, welcome guys, and I'm going to share my screen. Welcome to the second session of Options Bootcamp session number 2. And I want to just ask you, is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So what we're going to do today is we are going to learn. Last time we learned to sell naked puts, and in turn how to turn it into the wheel, and then turn around and sell covered calls. Today, what we're going to learn how to do is to sell naked calls and then do the reverse wheel so it turns into a covered short. So, and then in the future, we'll do poor man's covered calls, poor man's covered puts, strangled straddles, iron condors, and diagonals. And so essentially we're learning one trade a week for 7 weeks. So what I'd like to throw out to the class is, what have you learned or practiced since we last met?
I learned that I don't know what I'm doing.
You learned that you don't know what you're doing. Okay. Well, I do think it's kind of like drinking through a fire hydrant. And unless you spend some time with your development plan, then there will be some missing information. Ron, I think that was Ron's voice. Have you spent any time with your development plan?
Not too much.
Not too much. All right. Hopefully that will help to bring some things and make sense of some things. Did anybody else learn? Who learned something since we last met?
I'm kind of learning the concept of why we're selling naked calls on something you think is going to go up, something you're bullish on.
Okay, you meant selling naked puts.
Naked puts.
On something that you're bullish on. Now, I spent some time with Bob because he initiated this, and I kind of put it into an art example because it was, I don't know if that helped, but kind of giving you some other examples that possibly you could relate to. So you learned a little bit about why we're an option seller. Did anybody read the article from Tasty Trade about option selling?
Yes.
Okay. Did that make any sense? Bring anything together, or did you have questions about that?
It does why I read it, but then when I go away from it the next day, I forget everything.
Okay. Well, in a way, it's kind of a lot like learning a foreign language. As Steve Martin said, they have a different word for everything, and there's this whole language, and I think you're going to have to slow down and like, oh, what's a put? Oh, yeah. Okay. What's a call? And after a while, you do it enough and it's just kind of second nature. But I'm not surprised that after the first session, you think about any skill, how good were you after 1 hour? Isaac, you're teaching yourself to play the ukulele. Am I correct?
Yeah.
How good were you after the first hour?
No good. It took a lot of time.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. Yeah. Now, I'm not suggesting, but I do think that you're going to be a lot further along after each of these sessions and after you spend some time with the development plan. But I would like to suggest that you not be frustrated that there's still a lot of missing information after your first hour. Anybody else? What have you learned since we last met? One at a time, please.
I don't know if anyone else knows, but when you sell, it's easier than buying directionally. As in, when you sell, not only do you get the premium, you also make money when it breaks even and also when it swings the other way, as opposed to when you play directionally, you've got to clear your premium before you start taking profit. Here, you get profit right away, and you kind of have like a buffer zone you can stop out of it so you don't lose any money. I think you can control your losses better by selling, and there's more ways to win.
You improve your probabilities, and it's possible to be wrong on your direction and still make money.
That helps me.
That helps me. So our plan is once a week, we'll learn a different trade for 7 weeks. Each time you'll practice that trade. Last week's trade was selling naked puts. You'll go on Slack. You'll post your questions. I'm totally open to giving you guys any tutorials along the way. Today, we're going to be learning about selling naked calls on
Dale,
stock that you're bearish on.
Dale, you're sending us down the road of selling because it makes so much more sense than buying. And so we don't even need to cover the buying part of it because we're already getting a little bit of advantage in just learning to sell, right?
I believe that what amateurs are already doing is buying calls or buying puts. They buy calls on things they think will go up. They buy puts on things that they think will go down, but immediately it's stacked against them. 90% of all option traders lose 90% of their account value in the first 90 days. And the reason is they get fleeced by the professionals. A lot of you guys are poker players. You know, a lot of poker players think they're winners. The majority of them are losers. And that makes the top 10% who do it for a living, you know, are just fleecing the other 90% that are there for kind of casual gamblers. The reason I'm focused so much on selling options is I believe that it allows you to be the casino rather than the gambler. Now you can leave this class and put it on black by buying calls in GameStop if you want, but I'd suggest that you're going to be one of those people that ends up getting fleeced unless you get lucky.
This is awesome. I'm happy we're doing it.
Yeah. So our accountability plan is, I would encourage all of you, and I will apologize up front. I've been hard on people to get your homework done, and I've had to get some feedback. Thanks, Alex, along the way. Hey, back off of my guys because some of them don't have electricity. So I want to say sorry for being so hard on you when, you know, the lights weren't going to work. But my motive was to just kind of get you to complete your homework so you wouldn't get too far behind before the second session started. Now, here's the leaderboard performance. And if you guys have seen it, I took a snapshot about 30 minutes before the market closed. And I want you to see that OJ was in first place. And then all of a sudden, 30 minutes later, OJ, you're not even in the top 10 anymore.
Yeah, we had a bad trade.
And so really, second place was Brandon. Let me make sure that not anybody else has joined this session that I haven't let in yet. Anybody see? Let's see. Let me stop share just for a second to see. Nobody's in. That's good. All right. Yeah. So Johnny Juiceball, or OJ, the man of many different names. Brandon was in second place. Bob, congratulations, in third. Nancy was in fourth. Todd is fifth. I was in sixth. James is seventh. Ron was in eighth. Charity is ninth, and Alex Uzier was in 10th. And so the question I had is, what happened to OJ? You know, and for those of you who are old enough, this is OJ Simpson's Ford Bronco, but no, it's not that OJ. Not that OJ, but what happened to our OJ, which is Johnny Juiceball, and it was 2 words: PLTR and MARA. These are their charts. Similar looking charts, but they started to tank. OJ, you want to tell us what happened to those 2 trades?
Well, I mean, MARA is based upon the Bitcoin. And so as Bitcoin started to fall, MARA falls. It moves directionally with Bitcoin. And PLTR, I'm really bullish on personally. And I thought that would rebound today, but it took a little spill. It's something that I'll personally keep. But I think, you know, with the Qs falling today, they were just victims of the Qs. and
Yeah.
the Nasdaq falling. So that, and it's Thursday, so I played mine with the expiration of tomorrow.
Ah, got you.
So the theta, or yeah.
So theta didn't quite work for you as well in the 1 day to expiration.
Yeah, I was a little greedy with the expiration.
Gotcha.
And that's what really got me.
All right. So for those of you who are playing at home, just be reminded that just like OJ, it's possible to gamble by selling puts, but you can kind of have that kind of variance. It's just like playing a pot limit Omaha game. You have more variance than if you're playing Hold'em. So I'd ask the class, many of you experienced a drawdown today in selling your naked puts. And I want to ask you, what do you think caused our naked puts to go down today?
Because the market is down.
Because the market goes down. And are selling naked puts a bullish move or a bearish move?
Bullish.
Bullish. So bullish means that we want it to go up. So you think about a bull pushing you up in the air, tossing you up in the air, you want it to go up. So when it goes down, it begins to hurt us. So that's kind of one reason. Selling naked puts is a bullish strategy and the market went down today. Now, why else would cause our naked puts to go down today? Any other theories besides that?
Well, they have a time limit. And as the time limit gets smaller, that's the theta, and that's getting reduced.
Actually, the theta helps us because every day that passes, we get paid given everything else. So that would actually help us. Anything else that might hurt us today? Any other theories?
Increase of volatility.
Volatility. And volatility is measured by the VIX. VIX is also called the fear index. So when people get afraid, what happens to option prices? When the hurricane is headed towards your house in Florida, what happens to fear?
Goes up.
It goes up. What happens to the price of insurance if you wait till the last minute and it's headed towards your house?
Can't get it.
You can't get it, but if you could, it would be very expensive, right? And since we sold an option, that option increases in price, so it would cost us more to buy it back. So that's so theta decay gets jammed up like a Dallas traffic jam or like an Atlanta traffic jam, Greg, what you might be in right now. So as the perception of fear goes up, option prices become more expensive. So we've sold options, and so become more expensive to buy back, and so we lose. As fear relaxes, traffic continues to flow, and we get paid again. So don't be surprised tomorrow if the market goes up a little bit. And by the way, it's up 3.5 in the S&P futures. So if it stays that way and it goes up slightly tomorrow, fear will relax, traffic begins to flow, and we get paid again. This is what the VIX looked like today. So what happens is the market opened, VIX shot up to 24, and then it began to trickle down. This was probably the worst part of the day. So if anybody was looking at their real portfolio, they saw some pain here. It relaxed a little bit, some more pain, and then it began to trickle down. So you got a considerable amount of recovery, but the VIX still closed up almost 3% for the day. And that is the volatility index, which has also been called the fear index. Now it's time for a trivia question. And the trivia question is, when you sell a naked put, what do you hope happens to the stock by expiration? A, the stock goes down. Don't shout out your answers yet. I'm going to ask you to write down your answers before you hit the correct one. B, you hope the stock goes up. C, you hope the stock stays unchanged. Or D, B or C. Write down your answer and somebody cue Jeopardy music. 5 seconds. And your answer is?
D.
D. That is correct. You hope that the stock either goes up or you hope that the stock stays unchanged. Now, the next one, this is an essay question. I'd like for you to explain how the stock could go down and you could still make money when you're selling naked puts. Somebody would like to explain how that could happen. How could a stock go down and you still make money when you're selling naked puts? Give me a potential scenario of how that could happen.
As long as you're above the strike price, don't you make money?
Yes. How could I be below the strike price and still make money?
You're within your premium range. Get paid.
Exactly. So let's say you collect $1 in premium and it only goes down 50 cents below the strike price. You've still made 50 cents. Does that make sense?
I have a quick question, and I wasn't here last week. I did watch the video, but I wasn't here for the after-hour discussion if it was already covered. But can I just ask what? Tell
me who you are. Since you're not on video, I can't see you.
Oh, sorry. This is Alex.
Okay,
Alex Uzier. Why is a premium paid out? That's a hole from the lesson that I left from last week. Is I don't understand why a premium is paid out.
Okay. Great question, Alex. And now I saw your lips move, so now I knew who it was. Let me give the same example, and I think it helped it for you, Bob, with your art example. So Bob used to own Banks Fine Art, where he sold artwork, and you could imagine a work of art that he's got in his place, and I'm going to make up that it's worth $100,000. And Bob may have several pieces of art that are worth $100,000 since he's a baller. So let's assume that Bob has some concern because the price of that art is fluctuating. And Bob says, you know, I could handle it if the price goes down to $80,000, but it would really hurt me if it goes below $80,000. So I'm going to insure every piece of art to guarantee that I would be able to sell each one of those for $80,000. And I'm going to purchase a put that guarantees me to be able to sell it for $80,000. Someone is purchasing insurance to guarantee that they're going to be able to sell a stock at a particular price. You happen to be the person that they're paying for it, because you're going, hey, I'll take that risk. In fact, I'd like to own that art that Bob has for $80,000. So I'm going to sell that put to the guy who's buying it. So I collect the premium because really I want to own that at $80,000, or I want to own that house at $80,000. And I'm okay with owning it at $80,000, and I'll take that premium. So that gives you an example of what a buyer's motive would be and what a seller's motive would be. Does that help, Alex?
Yeah, but I believe you said that the premium pays out over time. Why do we receive a small amount of the premium over time rather than just at the transaction of close?
You collect the entire premium immediately. But you also have a contract, which it's to buy that for that art for $80,000. If at any point in time that person wants to exercise that contract. So I get the premium immediately and I've got the contract, but I don't get to keep all of it yet until the option expires. So imagine, if you will, you're leasing an apartment and you happen to be paying $1,000 a month for that. And your landlord gets that $1,000 immediately. But at any time, theta decay is as every day passes, he wouldn't have to give you a refund because you've stayed that entire day. And that's kind of what theta decay is. You collect the entire premium, but you don't necessarily get to keep it until it's over with.
That the second one helped much more. Unfortunately, I'm not vast in the art world, but
Sure.
I have been a renter, and that's much more clear. So I appreciate it.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions? All right. You know, one of the things that Kenneth Blanchard, who wrote the 1 Minute Manager, and then he wrote the book, The 59-Second Employee, which was staying one step ahead of the 1 Minute Manager. And one of the things he always used to do on the first day of all of his classes is he'd pass out the final exam on the first day of class. And everybody would say, you can't pass out the final exam on the first day of class. You know what he told them? Not only am I going to pass out the final exam on the first day of class, what do you think I'm going to do the rest of the semester? I'm going to teach them the answers. Life's not about making C's, it's about making A's. You tell people what you expect of them, and then you help them get there. So I always like to give out the final exam question before. And so the first one is, what is selling a naked put? How does it work exactly? Imagine, if you will, you're sitting around the poker table or you're at work and somebody knows that you're in this 7-week boot camp, and you tell them a little bit of something, and they go, what exactly is selling a naked put? I want you to put it into an elevator speech and tell me exactly what it is. In 3 sentences or less. I've got time.
I'll try.
All right.
I'm selling the option for someone to sell at a certain level when they think it's going to be below that level.
Okay. Some gambler thinks, you know what? I think this thing's going to zero. And I'm going to buy a put to sell that at a specific price. And you're saying, I'll take that bet.
Yeah, they think it's $100 and they think it's going to 50.
Yeah.
So they're going to say in a week when it goes down to 50, they're thinking I'm going to buy it at 50 because I have a guaranteed sale at 75.
So they may be buying a put at 80 and paying a lot of premium. Remember last time I told you that insurance is expensive? I mean, the other day, a few weeks ago, and I don't see Todd. Todd's in this group. Is your audio working?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Todd, do you remember, do you want to tell the class how much GameStop you had?
I had a little bit. I had about at one point about 5,000 shares, but
Okay.
had Dale helped me do a covered call on, what do we do? 30 contracts, about 3,000 shares.
You sold 1,000 shares and you sold a contract for 2,500 shares. But I remember you asking me if you could buy a put to guarantee you a specific price that you could buy it at. Do you have any recollection about how expensive that put was that you were going to think about buying?
It was crazy.
It was in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Something like, or more. Do you remember what the price was?
No, I don't remember exactly.
But it was so expensive, you were thinking, you know, F that, no way am I going to pay, right? That's crazy, right?
Yes. Totally.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean when I say insurance is expensive. And so when that premium, I said, you know, we want to be option sellers and not buyers. So selling a naked put, and I'd put it this way, is you're selling a put on a stock that you would not mind owning. You're collecting a premium. So if it goes down and you end up owning that stock, you wanted to own it anyway, but wouldn't you rather get it for a better price? Remember the example last week of the $100 jacket. You got a jacket, you like it, it's $100, you're willing to pay the $100, but you tell yourself, I'd like that jacket better if it was 90. So I'm going to sell a put for $1 to buy that jacket at 90. First month, it doesn't go down. So you keep the dollar. Thank you very much for the dollar. See you again next month. Second month, you sell a put for $1. You collect another, now you got $2. It doesn't go to 90. You keep that dollar. You say, thank you very much for the dollar. See you again next month. Third month, you sell another put for a strike price of 90. It goes down to 90. Bob asked the question, why does the jacket go down? I don't know, Bob. Maybe Apple missed earnings. That's the reason Apple went down. So at some point, maybe the jacket went on sale. Maybe there's a new designer jacket that comes up. It goes down to 90. You end up buying the jacket. Now your cost basis is 90 minus 3, which is what? 87. You know, 5 out of 4 people aren't good at math. So I know if there's a delay, you know, I don't feel bad because 5 out of 4 people aren't good at math. Why is it called a naked put?
You don't own any of it or selling it.
You don't have anything to cover it.
And you sell something you don't have.
And you're selling something you don't have. If you had something to cover it, it would be a put spread. What are your choices if the price goes down and it's below your strike price at expiration? You got 3 choices. What are your 3 choices?
So,
What is it, Ron?
I mean, you have to buy it then at the strike price, right?
Okay. You could buy to close it. That's one choice. There's 2 more. Anybody else? I hear the cops coming for you, Isaac. So you better button down the hatches. Anybody else? What's your second choice?
You could sell it to someone else who wants to own that insurance.
Okay, which in essence, that's buying to close it.
Yeah.
There's 2 more. Anybody got any others? You could take possession of the stock. Remember, you're selling puts on something you'd like to own anyway. And if it goes down, you have to buy it. So you take possession of the stock. That's your second option. Your third option is you could roll it out in time, giving yourself more time to be right.
Do you pay for that?
Do you pay for that? Not, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It's always ideal to roll it out in time for a credit so that you get paid more. You can't always do that, but occasionally you can. Very frequently you can, especially if you roll it out far enough in time. So next final exam question is, what is delta? You've learned one definition of the word delta. What was it? I know you've slept since then. At what delta did I recommend selling puts at?
20 to 25 to
30.
20 to 30 delta. Essentially, delta is how far away the option is from the strike price. And I prefer to sell delta at 20 to 30. And we've already kind of gone through theta with Alex's question. So I think we kind of get an idea of what theta is. What are the advantages of being an option seller instead of a buyer? And I think we've explained a little bit of that too. Is the option seller, immediately the odds are in your favor. So you have over a 50% chance of making money, where a buyer has less than 50% chance of being correct because they're paying something every day that they're wrong. When should I close a naked put? I didn't really cover this, but Bob asked the question in Slack last week. Do you remember what my answer was, Bob?
No.
It's Tasty Trade recommends closing a naked put at 50% of max value or at 21 days, whichever comes first. I don't happen to be as principled about that. But if you also need the buying power, you could do that. And the reason I advocate that is to lower your variance, and the variance is kind of how much of a dip you see in your portfolio.
So, Dale, what do you suggest on how far out we should be selling naked puts, in your opinion, from all the years that you've done this?
My preference is 30 to 45 days. Some people have a preference for weeklies. My preference is 30 to 45 days, especially when you're starting, because then it gives you more time. Now, let me show you something here. And this is a simulation portfolio. Can you see this portfolio? It says Dale's $1 million portfolio challenge. I paper trade this in a $1 million account. Are you all looking at it?
Yep.
Okay. See here under naked puts where it says percent of in it. Do you see that?
Mhm.
That is essentially the percent of your initial credit that you've collected so far. So if I scroll down here, you see this Clorox naked put that I sold. I collected $345. Its market value is worth $157. So I've collected over 50% of max value. Now you guys can't do this because you can only place trades during the market because we're competing in our simulation. But I'm going to go ahead, and for those of you who don't know how to close yet, you left click on these three dots and you use the word close. And then you says close all Clorox CLX legs and you click submit. So if I then refresh and I go down to naked puts, that Clorox will be gone. And then it shows up here in realized. So you see the realized of $187.50. So I've killed several birds with one stone here. One, I've demonstrated to you how to close a trade. I've also explained to you how to use percent of in it. And I've then answered the question, when should I close a naked put? So those are the final exam questions. Today's lesson, and we're about halfway into today's call, is selling a naked call. It's a bearish strategy. So last week we learned one bullish strategy. Today I'm going to teach you one bearish strategy.
Quick question, Dale. I mean, it sounds like you're leaving money on the table. I mean, why would you not want to max value or go to 75% or 80%?
Yeah, it's to lower your variance. And I'm not telling you to do this or not to do it, but Tasty Trade, who has about 8 to 10 PhDs on staff, and they're always back testing these different strategies. It also assumes that you're like a kid in a candy store that's always having more opportunity than you have buying power. If you've got a job and you're very busy and you aren't regularly coming up with ideas for trades, there's nothing wrong with allowing this to go further past 50%. Having said that, though, if something's worth 5 or 10 cents and you left it on and all of a sudden something changes and blows up in your face, you're going to wish that you would have closed that for a very small amount later. And so it's just a way to kind of have smoother returns without as much hills and valleys. Does that help, OJ? And I will confess that I don't always do this. I'm just also informing you about what some people claim are best practices. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You know, just like in poker, I would say raise pre-flop with 2 aces. That's kind of best practices. But there are people who like to slow play them. And sometimes you know what happens when you slow play them. You know, we let OJ in there cheap with the 5-3 of diamonds, and the flop comes ace, deuce, 4, right? And he just flopped the wheel. And, you know, you think you got a set of aces and, oh, well, wah, wah, wah. So selling a naked call, it's a bearish strategy. I prefer selling the 20 to 30 delta call. If the stock goes up and hits your call, you have three choices. You could A, buy to close that position. You could B, take possession of a short position at the strike price, or C, roll the in the money call out in time. Now, we've introduced a complex idea, which is a short position. And many times you hear this in the news a lot about short positions. So I wanted to just to define what is a short position. So let me do that here. What is a short position? And I'm going to change my a laser pointer here. What is a short position? Imagine that I borrow Bob's wheelbarrow. Bob's like, why do you keep picking on me? Because you're my friend, Bob. Imagine that I borrow Bob's wheelbarrow. I sell Bob's wheelbarrow to Isaac for $100. I hope that I'm able to buy back Bob's wheelbarrow cheaper at some future date. Home Depot runs a special on Bob's wheelbarrow. Sale on Bob's wheelbarrow for $90. I buy the wheelbarrow from Home Depot and I say, go to Bob and I go, hey, Bob, here's your wheelbarrow. I sold the wheelbarrow for $100. I bought it for $90. So my profit is $10. A short position is a complex idea to wrap your head around, because how in the world do you sell something that you don't own? But in the stock market, it's possible to borrow shares and then sell them, hoping that it goes down in the future so that you could buy it back cheaper and make money when it goes down. So in essence, what we're doing by selling naked calls, last week we learned the wheel strategy. Remember that? Sell puts, sell puts, sell puts. It goes down. You own the stock. You buy the stock. Then you sell calls, sell calls, sell calls. The reason I'm saying it multiple times is it doesn't always happen in the first month. It hits your strike price. The stock gets taken away from you. Now you don't own the stock. Then you sell puts, sell puts, sell puts. So in essence, this is the reverse wheel. You select a bearish stock. You then sell calls on that stock, naked calls. You may do it for multiple months. If you're selling the 25 delta, what's the probability that it's going to hit your call strike? 25%. If you're selling the 25 delta calls, there's a 75% probability that it's going to exercise out of the money. When it exercises in the money, then you're going to get assigned the short if you don't buy it back. Then you're assigned the short. You've got a short position. So now I'm going to sell puts on that against that short position until it goes down. It hits my put price. Then that gets me out of the short. So in essence, a long against a short cancels it. So now I got nothing. So it covers the short. So then I'll select another bearish stock, and this is called the reverse wheel, which is exactly the opposite of selling puts. Now you guys may not get to that, but at least you have an idea of what's possible. It's kind of a little more advanced, but I wanted to partner it with an advanced strategy. So trivia question, when you sell a naked call, what do you hope happens to the stock by expiration?
Goes down. Oh,
Goes
sorry.
down,
Sorry.
or B, it goes up, or C, it stays unchanged, or D, A or C?
D.
D.
D, A or C. You hope it either goes down or it stays unchanged. So somebody explain how the stock could go up and you could still make money on selling a naked call.
Premium thing.
Delta on the premium.
Okay, it also has to do with the premium. So once again, you collect $1. It only goes past your call strike by 50 cents. You're still up $1 minus 50 cents, which is 50 cents. Let's look at trades this week, and it's 5:42. We have 18 minutes. Trades this past week. OJ's biggest win was CCIV, and he was in and out of it 3 times. You want to tell us about that, OJ?
Not really. I mean,
Not really. Okay. Brandon, are you on the call?
I'm just kidding. I mean, there was nothing much to it except I just knew that they're getting ready to pop, and so I knew it was on an upward trend. So I kept selling puts against it. By the end of the day, it usually slides. So I sell out of it for the end of the day, and I buy back in. I sell it back in the morning.
Okay, so you were kind of almost trading in and out of it by selling puts.
Yes.
Okay. Is Brandon on the call? Okay, he's probably fixing an AC somewhere or a heating system. Brandon's biggest win was Riot. He had a 2K profit. Bob, you also had a $2,300 win on Riot. So did Brandon copy off of you, or did you copy off Brandon, or is it just great minds think alike?
I copied off of Brandon.
You did?
I went and looked at how come he was so high, and I saw he made money on Riot, which is a cyber coin or whatever.
Okay.
So I'll try that, you know.
All right.
So I bought Riot. I didn't copy his put,
Well,
but I copied using that stock because he was making money on it.
well, what's interesting is you made more money than he did. So that's funny. I'm not quite sure how that happens, but your timing was even better than his. Nancy had a $300 win on KLAC and a $200 win on DocuSign. Nancy, you want to tell us about those trades?
But now, I don't remember.
You don't even know? Okay.
I mean, I don't remember. I placed them.
All right.
Yeah.
You can't remember your reasoning or anything?
No, I looked at a chart and I
Okay.
placed them. Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe you copied off Brandon too. I don't know. No, Brandon didn't. I'm just kidding. And Todd, you had a $200 win on BP and a $200 win on Costco. You want to tell us about those trades?
That was basically, I kind of used your strategy of some stocks that you wanted to possibly own long-term. So that's kind of the way I went with it.
Okay.
But I had a question for you. I thought we're supposed to follow your strategy of stay within a range in the delta.
Yeah.
Only Riot is in that delta.
Well, Riot, I don't know. You can ask Bob or OJ.
Yeah. I think on the
Really,
put that I sold, the delta was in that price range.
Oh, wow.
The put
Yeah.
that Brandon sold, I think it was. I don't think it was, or it could have been Johnny's.
Volatile stocks, just with the Bitcoin movement. And so that's why I thought, are those within that range or even in?
Same question though on, is the expiration the 30 to 45 days out? OJ, is that your situation? You made good money by selling the 30 to 45 day out?
Well,
No.
OJ was twisting it a little bit by doing a shorter term option. So yeah, all of these are suggestions of what I would do in my real portfolio. You guys can feel free to change a few things. I'm not saying that you have to do it, although I would like for you to follow the trades that have been taught. Feel free to adjust things at your own discretion as it relates to delta, as it relates to how far out you sell it. So I want to allow you to have some discretion on the kinds of trades that you make.
I thought that making a weekly trade brings you more premium because you can, over 4 weeks, you can make 4 weekly trades than a 1 month trade.
It can, although it also gives you more risk because you will run out of time to make an adjustment. And I know that I really haven't talked about adjustments, but if you only have a week, you don't have any time to make an adjustment. It's especially applicable once we get to strangles. James had a $70 win on IMVT. James, you want to talk? Is James here? I guess not. Ron, you had a $50 win on Procter & Gamble. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, well, I just picked Procter & Gamble because that's a stock I own in another portfolio.
Okay.
And I know it's a pretty conservative, steady stock.
Right.
It's not going to go down much if it does.
Yeah, and it does pay a good dividend. So if you end up owning it, it pays a pretty decent dividend, which I'm going to guess that's one of the reasons why you like that stock. Am I right?
Yeah, I try and only get stocks that have dividends. I mean, I have some that don't, but I favor those.
Yep. Do you happen to know what Procter & Gamble's dividend is?
Nope.
Okay.
So I know it comes every now and then. I have more shares.
Yeah. So your assignment between now and next week is to sell naked calls on stocks that you're bearish on. I prefer selling 20 to 30 delta calls, make at least 2 to 3 trades, and put those trades into groups. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull up my $1 million portfolio and let's put a trade on. So somebody give me an example of a larger stock that you happen to be bearish on. What comes to mind?
Well, I was going to use Tesla this week to go bearish.
Okay. Tesla is a fairly large underlying. I'm not sure what the buying power, if you guys are able to make it, everybody probably knows by now, you're limited to, you cannot put a trade on that's over allocates over 5% of your account.
Okay.
So that may be, it may
Maybe
prevent you from being. All right, here is Tesla. I'm going to go ahead and put it on in my $1 million account because I'm not held to the same 5% rule that you guys are, since this is a larger account. So I happen to say with Tesla, I choose only to go short term on Tesla because I think I'm taking more risk going out in time. So that's the one stock that I've been burned so much on that I don't tend to do it except in the weeklies. So for that reason, I'm going to go, just to use Bob's example, I'm going to go with February 26th, and I'm going to sell the 20 delta call here. And here's a 20 delta. See, it's under this column. Delta is 20.1%. So I'm going to click on this and sell the 645 call, and I'll click, which gives me $98.40 a day in theta decay, and it takes about $8,500 in margin. Now, Bob asked me last week, how do you calculate this buying power or margin? And essentially, it's around 10 to 12% of what it would cost me to get assigned. So if I had to buy 100 shares of Tesla, it would cost me $84,000. So essentially, buying power is like your broker holds $8,400 in escrow to protect them against your risk of assignment. So I'm going to click submit. So then, and you guys aren't able to make trades after hours. I am, because I've enabled it for demonstration purposes. Then you click on these 3 dots, and I'm going to put that into naked calls. All right. Does anybody else have something, a stock that they happen to be bearish on?
I would say GameStop.
GameStop. So, if I clicked on trade here and I would put in GME, get chain, and then I'm going to go and sell the calls 30 to 45 days out in GameStop. So in this case, the next monthlies are in March 19th. That's where I would be currently trading in a real account. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go down to 20 delta calls, and here's a 19.8. And so I'm going to sell this guy. You can see there's not great liquidity. There's 31 cents of difference between the bid and the ask. Remember what I told you guys last time about liquidity and highly liquid stocks. And I also sent everybody the most liquid underlyings of the ETFs, as well as Sosnoff's setup. GameStop is not great liquidity. It's 31 cents difference between the bid and the ask. And that's like going to a Mexican money changer and you're wearing a Chicago Bulls shirt, right? He sees you coming and you just get taken. So it's the hidden cost of trading, moving in and out because liquidity is not great. But I'm going to go ahead and sell this guy, and I'll crank. This is how you change the number of contracts. So I'm going to crank this up to 5. It's currently, that's a 90 strike call. It's currently trading at $40.50. So I'm selling a call at 90. That means if it goes up to 90 on March 19th, that I'm going to be short 500 shares at a strike of 90. So I'm going to click submit. I'm going to click on these 3 dots and I'm going to put that into naked calls. Now I wanted to demonstrate a couple of other things which are features on TradeDiff, which are 2 of my favorites. You can click on trends and you could then go into ROI, and I could click on analytics and I could go into ROI projections. So what this does is you could then see, this is what in this $1 million simulator, I decided to short GameStop, and you could tell it hurt me here, right? Look at this swing. And then you see me swing way up when I was successful on that GameStop short. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But this is kind of how I'm comparing my performance with the S&P and against NASDAQ. So I'm really doing a few things in this account. I'm taking a few risks that I wouldn't have in my real account. But then I'm able to see, you know, I've averaged since September paper trading this account, I'm averaging 3.54% per month. So if I was to project that in a year, I'd have 1.5. In 3 years, I'd have 3.5. In 5 years, I'd have 8 million. In 10 years, I'd have $65 million. So it just kind of shows you what you're able to do with your simulator, or when you connect a real account, the way you're able to kind of keep track of how you're doing. And one of the differences between pros and amateurs is the pros are going to measure how they're doing. So they know exactly how they're doing every day. So as I look at the time, I got about 5 minutes left. What questions do you guys have?
So I have some naked puts that are expiring tomorrow.
Okay.
Do I sell them?
I would
Do
close.
I sell them, buy new ones?
I would. And if you think about it, what you would do in your real account is I'd go ahead and start is close those out. Now, the way TradeDiff is supposed to perform is it will cash settle those. There are some risks people take sometimes, and here's something you may not know. SPY happens to still continue trading 30 minutes after the market closes at 3 o'clock. One time my friend Quan didn't know that. So he left a few hundo on the table by not knowing that information, because he had an option that wasn't in the money, but it went in the money between when the market closed at 3 o'clock and when at 3:30. Because he wasn't watching it, he let something expire that actually had value. And his broker's not chasing you down. You know, that's up to you to know to do that. Personally, I tend to close everything out. Usually a day or two before expiration. If you want to wait, for sure close it on Friday. In a real account, you could let it expire worthless. But if you're not watching it and something goes in the money, on Monday, you might get a margin call because something settled and you may or may not have had enough money to take possession. And I know that was probably confusing, Bob, but just in your account, I would go ahead and close it out, especially because you must be trading weekly options. And so far, I've just advocated 30 to 45 days. So if you're selling a short-term thing that expires tomorrow, just click on those three dots and choose close. Next question.
I need to do that during the market hours, right?
You need to do that during the market hours. And the reason being is because option prices are not accurate after hours. There's not an active option market after hours.
Hey, Dale.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So on these different trading platforms, and I stumbled through with your help last week on that BP thing that I was doing with using the Ameritrade, just the regular platform. It looks like the Tradif, it seems like an easier platform to use, has more bells and whistles. So do people like move into these different platforms or link it to their real accounts? How does that work?
I recommend that all active option traders use Thinkorswim. And rephrase your question again, Todd. I wasn't really following exactly what your question is.
It just seems like that the Tradif seems a much easier platform to use than using just the regular skin off of Ameritrade.
Yeah, well, we cannot place trades through TradeDiff. TradeDiff Simulator is scaled down to some basic functions, but you're not able to do as much with it as you are Thinkorswim. It's almost like, if you're trading on a simple platform, imagine if you're flying in a Piper Cup, little small, simple airplane versus Thinkorswim is like a 747. And you don't appreciate the 747 until you learn about it, all of its capabilities. And I've been trading on Thinkorswim for at least 15 years, and I don't even use all of the features.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Dale.
Yes.
I set up my competition thinking in this time frame, 30, 45 days, what's going to happen, what I believe in.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling with whether I should like close some of those out and start trading weeklies to make better income. Because I can better forecast a short-term move than I can a longer-term move, I suppose.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Well, to me, one of your most important criteria for this is how much time do you have on your hands? Because the more trades you're making, the greater the size of your account. You start trading weeklies. Some of you may have 20 different underlyings you're tracking and you're doing weeklies and you're working a full-time job. Pretty soon you're kind of going to get overwhelmed. And so one of the most important criteria for me and for you is, how much time do you have on your hands to allocate to it?
Good point. Mm-hmm.
And at least consider that as you decide, because if you choose to trade monthlies, but if you choose weeklies and you got a bunch of underlyings, the probability you're juggling a lot of balls and you're going to miss one.
Mm-hmm. It's also volatility as well. Like if you trade weeklies, I mean, I do it to experiment, but I do both.
Yeah.
I mean, short term, you can swing really hard, where I agree with Dale. If it's 30, 45 days out, you can kind of see things coming. And if you have time, the money's going to come in. The money's going to come to you. You just see it slower, but it's more guaranteed. I've personally been burned on weeklies quite a bit because it can happen in half an hour. You can get wiped out in half an hour and not know it.
And I trade some dailies, and it's literally, I'm like an air traffic controller, and my wife will walk into the room wanting to talk to me about something, and I'll go, sweetie, I'm landing about 10 planes right now, and I can't, I can't take a crash. And it's, I trade, imagine I trade 15 different accounts, and I got 3 different trades, all of them exercising today. And it can get, and I told Isaac that, people say, how do you do it? Well, I used to play 10 tables of online poker, at once. But unless you've really played a lot, you got a familiarity, it can be stressful. And so I take notes to myself, be zen, be relaxed. I'll say, hey, Google, play some instrumental guitar, and it starts playing something relaxing, in the background. Yeah, playing something called common acoustics. So this is kind of what I do to just kind of chill, because otherwise things can get frantic, and it's not good to be all stressed out when you're doing this. All right, I want to be respectful, and every time I do it, I try to keep this exactly to 1 hour, because I don't want anybody to say, I don't have time for that. Go to Slack, post your questions in Slack. I really want to help everybody get there, but it takes time. And I'll end with the following quote: that which we persist in doing becomes easier. It's not the nature of the thing has changed, but our ability to do it has increased. I believe that there's a ton of potential at being an option seller. Frankly, I put together the class because it's what I wish somebody would have done for me 15 years ago. And I hope it helps, and happy trading. And I'll be here till the last person leaves if you want to hang around after class.
Thanks, Dale.